Hey, today I thought I would show you my daily warm-ups for drawing. I do these pretty much every day before I start to study, just to get the hand flowing and slowly getting back into the groove of things. Just so you know, this is the perfect opportunity just to let go of all expectations to drawing and just let your mind be free. And try to imagine you're a 5-year-old kid drawing in the sand, mud, whatever. The point is to be free and just let your mind roam free, not worrying about any mistakes. With that said, I'd like to start off pretty simple with just some automatic drawing. Pretty much just whatever comes to mind, any shapes, I just lay them down on the page. After that, I just do some straight horizontal and vertical lines on top of each other. Then, I go with filling the little boxes with circles, ellipses, whatever you want. At this point, we're still just focusing on just hand movement and waking up the brain. Next, what I like to do is just dot down 4 little random dots anywhere on the page. Doesn't matter how far apart they are from one another. Me personally, I don't like them to be too far apart, but it's all up to you. Next, just try making straight strokes from one point to the other, and you should end up with a plane or little box, whatever. Then do the same on the inside. Connect all the dots again from the inside and try to find that center minor axis. Pretty much you're just pizza slicing it. After that, try fitting an ellipse in there. Try to have it touch all edges and have it fit within the plane slash box. After that, I like to branch off and actually start doing some form. For me, this is personally the most fun when it comes to these warm-ups. You're just trying to communicate whatever you drew in 2D that is in fact 3D. You can draw random blobs, whatever shape you want, and try to draw contour lines on the surface. Make it look like as if you can pick it up from the page. I'm sure most people are familiar with ellipses. If you're not, they're pretty much just a shape or circle to help communicate degrees in perspective. They're very important, especially for drawing cylinders in 3D space. I don't know, but at least to me, I still see an ellipse as two giant Ross hang-ons colliding with each other. I think I'm just weird for this. Next is the holy cube. What I like to do is draw lots of cubes, pretty much to help to communicate that there is 3D space all around this 2D world. Using the X, Y, Z axis, I'm trying to overlap these cubes and show that they are all in the same space. I also like to shade my cubes. I actually need a study value. I keep putting it off. I'm so bad. After drawing a couple of cubes, it's now time to actually put them into a 1-point perspective. You know how it is. Get the horizon line down and that vanishing point, and it's time to connect the dots. Just getting the brain to think that there's always a vanishing point somewhere in space when you put down a cube. I also sometimes just do a little calling over and over again, just to warm up the hand more. Also, you should try this. Make a little circle and put a dot in the center. Now put your pencil there and draw out to each corner of the circle without lifting up your pencil from the paper. Back to 1-point perspective, but this time I'm going to try to challenge myself by adding in some legs. Pretty much I'm training my mind to sculpt the cube into a more organic shape. Because if you can put a cube into any one of these 1 to 3-point perspectives and mold them into the object you want, well guess what? You have that object in its respective perspective, which is why learning the cube is so important. What better way to communicate height, length, and depth than the great cube itself? I would have never thought this shape would be so crucial in art. In this next exercise slash warm up, I'm actually thumbnailing, so pretty much creating a panel like you would see in a comic. And I'm still using a basic 1-point perspective. I'm showing you just from using a basic 1-point and using just simple shapes like planes and cubes on how you can get a pretty decent slash background slash setting. Which is why perspective is very important if you decide you want to try and tackle something like comics in the future. Once you understand the rule to a certain degree, you can start to look at other artists' work, say like comics, and find out the science behind it. You're pretty much figuring out the magic trick and reverse engineering their work into yours, which is what you would call studying, breaking it apart and putting it back together with your own little twist. In this next one, I'm still using the same thing with thumbnailing, but I'm using a 2-point perspective this time, and pretty much following the rules to put this cube into that 2-point perspective. Once the cube is in its proper place, I can then work off from it. This is where the term sculpting comes into play. I'm taking this primitive shape, which is the cube, and molding into a more organic shape, say like a skull. And from there, I got a skull in a 2-point perspective. But this applies to everything: cars, humans, buildings, everything and anything. Just going back into form practice, these warm-ups can last anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. The more time you spend drawing and the more you're consistent with it, the larger your visual library grows, which means you have a lot more stuff to throw up onto the page, which makes drawing more fun. The more you know to drawing, the more fun it becomes. Another tip on practicing form is try to imagine a blanket over a cylinder. Now try to imagine the lumps you would feel if you brush your finger across the form. Now try to express that with form lines, giving the illusion that whatever shape you're drawing has form, it has depth. Here I'm starting to get into the real flow of things with drawing a bunch of cubes, almost overlapping each other to try and communicate that 3D space. What's really good to do from time to time is also think of the slight tilts to a cube. Randomly drawing cubes in random perspectives is cool, but try to take it to the next level with saying what the cube would look like if you slightly tilted it. Being aware of this is a lot better than just randomly drawing cubes out into the open. It helps to further increase your understanding of 3D space. Drawing a vanishing point with a perspective grid coming out and then adding ellipses within the lines is also a very good way to get your motor skills moving. Also, if you're wondering why I have this mouse manual under my palm, it's so that my hand won't smudge the lead underneath. I tend to have nothing but lead under my hand. If I don't do this from time to time, the oils on your hand can make it real messy. Now we get into the fun stuff with gesture drawing / figure drawing. A good method I like to use when doing these warm-ups is the balloon method. Think of the balloon as the head of the human figure and the string as the spine. Understanding that flow that runs through the human figure, almost try to envision you seeing the spine as you draw the figure. How is it tilting under all that flesh and muscle? And try to capture and understand that energy you see in the reference. At this stage, I pretty much just go on my phone and look at reference for poses to study. Getting into human anatomy, a little fun fact, anatomy was one of the first things I started studying when taking art seriously. I didn't start to learn perspective until like 2 months after realizing how important perspective was and that anatomy isn't really a drawing fundamental. Yikes. Still, at least I was studying anatomy, right? Not too bad. Also, notice how I'm putting form lines over these anatomy shapes. By doing that, you're telling yourself that these are not flat shapes, they have roundness to them. Do that for everything, thighs, breast, everything. That's pretty much it. I hope I was able to show you something new or give you some sort of an idea on how to study and further improve your art. If you did learn something, or if I helped in any way, maybe you could drop a like or something. You don't have to, but I would appreciate it. I'm gonna try to post more videos like this in the future. With that said, keep doodling, never stop drawing, and stay safe out there. Alright, take care.